Welcome back to Veterans Forum, a program by veterans, about veterans, for veterans and their families. I'm your co-host, Bob West, with Ray Chattery and Jerry Devlin. Our goal is to provide you and your family important information about the benefits that you have earned by interviewing people in our community. However, tonight's a little special. We're going to go over the current update of the legislative year out in Annapolis for 2015. So, Jerry, what's the latest information from Annapolis?
Well, I think the most important bill that's under consideration is a perennial bill, which has been around for about 15 years. That is a so-called subtraction modification that will allow military retirees to deduct some or all of their pensions from state taxation. Some years ago, we got the first $5,000 exempt, and in the last couple of years, Senator Doug Peters from this district, who has been the leading supporter of veterans legislation in Annapolis for several years, he introduced a bill to raise the 5 to 10, and it passed the Senate unanimously, 47-0 twice, and then went to the graveyard of veterans bills, the House leadership, and to the Ways and Means Committee, which took no action. This year, we're much more confident. Senator Peters' bill had a hearing the other day, and I'm sure it'll come again. And as I'm speaking, in a couple of days, or it'll be after you've heard this broadcast, the House Ways and Means is going to consider this subject. And we're very happy to report this year that Governor Larry Hogan made a campaign issue and made a promise that he would support a substantial increase in the amount of money which is subject to state income tax, and the governor has done what he said he would do. He has introduced a bill which bears the name of Speaker Bush in the House and Senator Miller, the President of the Senate. And basically what the bill would do, it's a four-step bill, that the first year military veterans could subtract either $5,000 or 25%, whichever is larger, and then every year for 3 more years it would go up, and ultimately there would be no taxation on military retirement income. And this has been a sacred cow issue for veterans for many, many years.
Yeah, as you had mentioned, for the last few years, we'd have Senate hearings on this, but there was nothing coming out of the House.
We had a House hearing, and then it went somewhere.
And then it died.
It died as slow and...
And I guess another point that's important to all of us is during the legislative year, it's important for all of us to pay attention to the legislation as it moves through the various committees. And if possible, as a veteran, to show up when these hearings occur. And they're posted right on the website, so if you're able to get out there and attend, it's extremely important, because folks wearing hats out there when the committees are meeting is very important to our legislators. Isn't that some of the issues that we have currently, Jerry, that we don't get enough participation?
Exactly, and legislators, there is a great deal of competition for their time and enthusiasm, and people who are politically important and so forth, their back gets scratched. And I always say that the governors just don't take us as seriously, perhaps, as we take ourselves. A few years ago, we had our annual reception for the legislators in the State House, downstairs from the governor's office. In 2 successive years, Bob Ehrlich and Martin O'Malley, the governors, they were in the corridor and didn't come into our reception.
That's a big problem. The other problem is the number of new legislators that have any service connection whatsoever, whether it's a family member or themselves, is getting pretty few.
My generation, when I was in the legislature, people who were my age, if you weren't a veteran, you had some explaining to do. And when I served as a legislator from this district, the 3 senators, the 3 delegates, Leo Green, Dave Ross, and I, were all veterans. And Ed Conroy, of course, was a Silver Star, who lost his hand in Korea. He was our state senator. And generally, pretty much all. Mike Donovan was in the Senate. He was a retired, I think, lieutenant colonel. It was just a large number, And it was almost, when you were in politics started out in the 50s or 60s, it was a good thing to get your card punched. I mean, you you know, you served your 2 years at least, and then came back. But it was a, you know.
So this seems to be some promising legislation this year, and it's taken some time. But Ray, as you know, we currently now have slot machines or lottery machines or chance machines, whatever you're supposed to call them, in our clubs, and that seems to be helping out somewhat in the clubs.
Yes, it is, and there again we can thank Senator Peters and Delegate Geraldine Valentino Smith for getting this to the veterans groups here in Prince George's County. Depending on, you know, there was a group of regulations and such you have to go through. And this is all controlled by the Lottery Commission. One nice thing that a lot of people don't realize that a percentage goes to our Maryland Veterans Trust Fund through the Department of Veterans Affairs down in Annapolis to help veterans. And this is one thing. And we here at Omaha Beach have 5 machines, and Disney Bell Post 66, they have 5 machines now, and they're doing very well. And they're penny machines. And as I say, there again, it's you have to be careful. You know, you don't want to go ahead and put your whole paycheck in, but it's helped us out a lot, and we're going to be, you know, giving donations to certain various organizations. And once everything settles down, it takes a while for things to you know, take place and settle down. But it's really great that we do now at least have that part.
And our ability to raise money is very limited. Our membership is aging, and the demands are greater than ever. And we have pull tab machines, and we basically were supported by them, and the county was about to make them illegal, send us a letter, you know, that they were coming after us. And Doug Peters was on a conference committee in Annapolis and got an amendment through that enabled us to keep the pull tab machines. And then when Governor O'Malley wanted the slot machine bill, there was a good deal of feeling against letting the veterans have it, that we were somehow going to be would be competition for the Maryland Live and so forth. And then it looked like we were going to go by the wayside. But it takes 71 votes to pass a bill in the House. Unlike Congress, it requires a constitutional majority. That is, a bill gets 70 votes and can't pass. It has to get a majority of the whole House. And they were in the low 70s and were very, very nervous. And Geraldine Valentino Smith was our delegate, and Sonny Minnick, who's a delegate from Dundalk, they said if the veterans aren't in, we walk. So the administration and the leadership caved in, and that's why we have these machines now. And a minute ago, I really want to apologize. The bill, the House Subtraction Modification Bill, it's House Bill 177, and I did want to say that it's supported by Delegate Marvin Holmes, who represents Bowie. And Marvin is a member of the House leadership and is one of those quiet, really effective legislators. So the bill has a good sponsor. Sometimes the people don't realize that. There are people who sponsor bills, and that's the end of it. They don't do anything. Mm-hmm. But Marvin, in a quiet way, moves around a lot, and he's a good man and a good legislator.
And a veteran.
And a veteran, of course. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I didn't want, Marvin, if you're out there, I wanted to apologize for forgetting you for a moment, because we all are very, very appreciative.
How about Valerio?
And the other thing that has changed, of course, with the new governor is new leadership in the executive branch. And I understand that we have a new chairman or new secretary of the Maryland Veterans Affairs.
George Owings. It's an interesting, George Owings was Secretary of Veterans Affairs under Governor Ehrlich. And George was in the legislature with me. He represented Colbert County, and he is a Democrat. So I guess there aren't too many Democrats who've been cabinet officials under the last two Republican governors in the last 40 years or so.
Well, that's.
But he's a fine. He's a little. I don't want a little plug in here. He's a Marine, and which makes that does make him a little special. But he really is a good person, and he's a devoted veteran, and I think everybody was happy with his appointment. Everybody I know was happy.
And the Joint Veterans Committee is currently meeting. We have another meeting or two before the end of the year, and hopefully we'll be supporting this legislation that's forthcoming out of Annapolis.
Yeah, we had to postpone the January meeting because of the weather and wasn't able to reschedule. And then last Wednesday with the bad weather, but we are meeting this coming Wednesday, and I don't know if this will air by then, but we'll be meeting this coming Wednesday at Omaha Beach Chapter 7 here in Bowie, and the 6 major organizations are members of the Joint Veterans are the AMVETS, Catholic War Veterans, Disabled American Veterans, Marine Corps League, Military Order, Purple Heart, and Veterans of Foreign Wars. And the state commanders and the state commandant for the Marine Corps League, they come and they give reports. And one thing that we have in our bylaws that any legislation that is brought on the floor has to pass unanimously. If one of the organizations have a problem with it and it doesn't pass, we don't back it. And Jerry is our legislative chairman, and he gets down to Annapolis and he testifies almost on all the veterans' bills, unless he has to work that day. But as I say, there again, we are well represented in Annapolis because Jerry was a former delegate, and people know him, they respect him, and he speaks very well for the veterans. And that's why we have been very successful with legislation through the Joint Veterans and also the Marine Corps League and DAV and VFW.
Besides the subtraction bill for retirees, is there any other major legislation? Usually there's some little things that are kind of
going the little things are all over the place.
Yeah.
Everybody, all the counties now want to get on board on gaming in one way or another. I'm looking here, Frederick County, Carroll County have local bills. Then they want to name a road wherever Delegate Folden comes from. They want to name the Gold Star Highway. And I've been talking with Senator Peters, my lips to God's ears. That Virginia has a bill pending to name the Capital Beltway Disabled American Veterans Highway. And I've been talking with him if maybe if they pass the bill, we would make it contingent. So it's kind of silly to have half the Beltway named with one name and half with another. Mm-hmm. But that one we're looking into. And then you have the usual flying the MIA flag and all kinds of circumstances. There's a great deal of interest in it. Then on a personal basis, I wanted to make a little plug here. Last week was the midwinter conference of the Marine Corps League, and I got elected vice president, and that's, I wait for the president to get sick or die, I guess. But anyway, it's one of those charities in America. Charities are very, very controversial. Like the Wounded Warriors program now is very controversial. But the Marine Corps League Foundation, 99% of its money goes to the beneficiaries. And the 1% is like the audit that we're required to have, by law, we're required to have an audit by the IRS. But other than that, and it's a wonderful group, and it's headed by a very remarkable woman, Major Laurel Hulls, retired Marine Major. Not many Marine Majors are under 5 feet tall, but what she lacks in height, she makes up in effectiveness. And what we do is we provide assistance to Marines and their families who are down in their luck. People who've had fires and things, lost jobs, or someone sick, or transportation for families. And so if anybody is interested in that, just send me an email at Gerard Devlin, AOL, and or call me at 301-262-1696, and I'll see that the money goes to the National Marine Corps League headquarters in Merrifield, Virginia. But it's a remarkable group, and there's some very good people on it. Not me, but some really people have something to contribute. We have lawyers and a couple of CPAs, and we have a woman who's really brilliant, and she brings her husband, who's a CPA, who's not a Marine. So you're getting 2 for the price of 1 with Polly Weidenkopf.
Mm-hmm. Well, the other thing too is things are happening outside the legislative area as we approach late spring and early summer. So there's some things that are happening with the DAV. Your convention is coming up. We have parade.
Right.
So what's going on in Bowie?
Well, let's do it locally first. The first thing we have, of course, we're going to participate in Bowie's Patriotic Parade, and I believe that's May the 23rd. It's a Saturday. And the VFW always has a group there too, and the Marine Corps League, DAV, and we have a nice group. And then on Monday, the 25th, is Memorial Day. The DAV, our local chapter, is in charge this year, and we have the local politicians, Mayor Robinson, and hopefully Councilman Todd Turner will be there, and our legislators, Geraldine Valentino Smith, and Marvin Holmes, and
Doug Peters.
Excuse me.
And of course, Joe Valerio.
And Joe Valerio, right. Like I said, we have 2 in 23B now, and they go ahead and present proclamations and such. And 30 years ago, we used to have maybe 25 people and 5 wreaths. Now we have 200 plus people and 35 wreaths that are presented. And as I say, it'll be 11 o'clock, and it's Memorial Day Monday, the 25th of May. You're invited. You don't have to be a veteran. Come on out and support the veterans. And this is a very, very solemn day because this is to celebrate, well, I don't want to mean in a good way, but we celebrate those who have given the supreme sacrifice for this country and such. And it's just not going to the beach or going to this and Memorial Day sales and stuff like that, but we just give us an hour or so of your time. Come on down and show support for our veterans here in Bowie.
Now also, we attended a meeting over at City Hall about Veterans Park, because apparently they want to put up a memorial there, stone,
Yes.
and we talked about that the other day.
Right.
So
Yeah, the city has included money in the budget for it.
Yes.
And I think we ought to say we're really grateful that Mayor Robinson and the City Council have really been responsive to veterans' needs.
And
Several, of course, are veterans. Not
Yeah.
Marines, but veterans.
But even
the mayor.
and the city is really to be commended for the wonderful way they manicure. I want to say manicure our park, because it's always in good condition. The grass is mowed, and as I say, the American Legion pretty much takes care of the flags there.
Yeah.
And but like I said, it's just a really nice place, and we're going to, we can't say exactly what's going to be put up there. We made some suggestions. All 3 of us were there, along with Dr. George, who was he was the contact point on this, and we met with the Arts Committee Council, and got some very good ideas. Hopefully, this will take place. Now we're shooting for Veterans Day.
that's my understanding.
Right,
yes.
we're shooting for Veterans Day to dedicate this new memorial, and to say it's some very good ideas, and hopefully this will come to fruition and take place at that time.
Right.
Yeah, we do very well on our events. Our elected officials are almost unanimous in their
Yes.
appearance, and and several, of course, are veterans. Of course, the Bowie City Council, when Mayor Logue was mayor, we had Dick was, of course, is a Marine, and Walt Planet was a Marine, and Gene Kiley was a Marine. And that's the high water mark of the Bowie City Council, viewed from a Marine Corps point of view.
Yeah.
And we stumbled our way through anyhow.
Yeah, one thing I
The
do
city
want.
survived.
I'm glad Jerry mentioned it. We mentioned one thing I didn't mention was the Bowie City Council. I would say that if they're in town, because this is a family holiday sometimes, all of the Bowie City Council and former City Council
Jack Jenkins, being foremost.
come to the Veterans Park to honor us veterans. And as I say,
Jack Jenkins and Joan Pitkin, the former delegate,
Right.
they've always been.
and they're really appreciative of the support that they give us.
As veterans, the best way to kind of get everybody aware of the fact that you are a veteran is when it comes time for you to renew your driver's license, is to go ahead and get your driver's license with veteran put on it. All you need is your DD-214 when you do that, and that's helpful. And the other thing too is if you belong to any service organization or a veteran at large, and it's time to renew the registration on your vehicle, it would be a good idea to have your plates indicating that you are a veteran, because the more people see that there's a lot of veterans out there, the more that we can get done here in the state, and for you to receive the benefits that you've earned and deserve.
One thing now, You know, all of the veterans organizations have their organizational plates, but there's a lot of people that just don't want to belong to a veterans organization. Well, they do have the military now. It's called MIL, and if you were a Marine or you were a sailor, Air Force, Coast Guard, you can go and get your military tag with with your service emblem on it. And as I say, this way it identifies you as a military and as a show that you have served the country.
Yeah, as a veteran, and the more people are aware about their neighbors and friends being veterans, the better it will be for all of us as we push ahead with additional legislation. So we talked about the parade on Memorial Day and the services on Memorial Day, and then also following is Bowie Fest, which is the first Saturday in June. And of course, we'll be there with our tent at the VFW. The American Legion shows up, the Marine Corps League and DAV
right.
show up also. So that's a good opportunity if you're out with your family to stop by and say hello, and if possible, find out more about what we do here in the community.
And another thing, on 4th of July, for the last couple of years, we've furnished the color guard for the 4th of July ceremony. The 4 organizations, and we also have the Maryland flag and the American flag.
Some of us, when we first started carrying the flag, there only were 44 stars, but we do our best. Then we have another thing too. Almost all the veterans organizations now have their annual convention in Ocean City. And sometimes you wonder if Ocean City isn't 150 miles away or more. It's an easy drive, and we get special rates on the rooms. It's a wonderful place, like another 2 organizations that I'm most active in, the Marine Corps League and the DAV. We meet at the Princess Royale Hotel. There's a great swimming pool for the kids, and it is on the beach. And there are a lot of social events around it, and it makes it a nice vacation. And we have, if you bring the family, or if you want 2 or 3 people come together, they have large rooms that easily accommodate 3 people. Yeah. So we really try to boost up our attendance in that with only, and then your national conventions are really worth going to. They're a little bit different. The DAV convention tends to be a little more professional in terms of learning how to deal with disabilities, and then you have to sort of organize your own social programs. They tend to be in places where they're like New Orleans, with a casino across the street. They tend to be in places where there's a lot to do. They don't generally meet in the smaller cities. But the Marine Corps League has a very elaborate program of events for the kids and the wives and the husbands and all the people. This year it's in Scottsdale, Arizona. So you can pretty well count on people staying inside and it's a wonderful thing to meet veterans from other part of the country, and not to get back in my favorite subject, the Marine Corps. Marine Corps is a small organization, so you really have, any place you've ever been, there's somebody at the convention who's been there, and you really share an awful lot of common memories. I make the supreme sacrifice at the Marine Corps League National Convention. I'm national parliamentarian, which means I'm sitting up on the platform listening to some of America's outstanding windbags while the people I'd rather be with are drinking Guinness at the bar, So, but sometimes you do have to make sacrifices.
Yeah, one little plug I'd like to put in, Bob. The DAV, the VFW, American Legion, well, the American Legion has the Sons of the Legion, but the Marine Corps League, we have associate members. We have a lot of parents that have joined, that her sons were Marines, and they joined as associate members. We have a lot of military that that aren't eligible, like for the VFW or the DAV, and depending on when they were in, they may not even be eligible for the Legion, and they want to support the veterans. They can sign up as an associate member for the Marine Corps League.
And they can use the facilities.
And they can use the facilities. And they can even get Marine Corps League license plates.
Marine Corps League, the DAV now has the semi-slot machines, whatever they're called. They have bingo, and they have pull tabs. And someone put a sign up in the conference room, DAV live. But it's a great deal of fun, and the DAV takes very seriously the task of dealing with claims with the Veterans Administration.
Right.
So for whatever your tastes lie, whether you want to do those serious things or you just want to meet some very nice people, and we just we've had several successful seafood fests, and we've had a very successful Super Bowl party. Last year, my daughter won a whole bunch of prizes. I simply endow them, but I'm.
The basic point here is if you come out and stop by one of our post homes, you're going to find out a lot about what's going to happen in the near future, and also about your benefits. We read often about veterans who have issues and are wondering where to go. Well, it's right here locally. There's a lot of help here locally that can get you down the path to help you solve some of the issues and the problems you have. Jerry had mentioned national conventions and state conventions. They're all very important and very informative. This year, the Veterans of Foreign Wars National Convention happens to be in Pittsburgh. And as a Pennsylvania boy, I think that's a great idea to have it there.
And he's a Pittsburgh boy, too.
Yeah.
In Pittsburgh, and we're looking forward to actually going this year. But please come out and see what's going on. If you're just interested in veterans and veterans issues, as Ray said, you can become an associate member at the DAV. It's on 197. You can't miss it. They fixed up the outside. The big new signs are out there. And we hope you can stop by and attend. And there's a lot of things going on for the community itself. We have community awards for essay contests for the youth. And we also have first responder awards that we've had for quite a while. So it's hard to believe, but Tom Allen, our director and cameraman, has given us the high sign that our time's just about up. So we want to thank you for watching another segment of Veterans Forum, and we hope you get involved with your community and with your veterans by simply stopping by the DAV on 197 or the American Legion on Laurel Bowie Road and find out about the benefits that you have earned. And thanks again for watching Veterans Forum.